Girl said hallelujah.
Today on The Chat, radio icon Bob Levy stops by, and he's discussing hot topics with the co-hosts, from Bruce Jenner's sex change to the Baltimore riots. It's all coming up today on The Chat.
Don't believe me, just watch.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Chat right here on Channel 21. I'm Joe Rack.
I'm Kathleen Junkerman.
I'm James Coffey.
And I'm Alexa Daly.
And joining us for the entire show is really a radio icon from News Talk Radio, 1160 and 1310, WOBM AM, from Bob and Marianne in the morning, Mr. Bob Levy. Bob, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thanks.
Nice to be here, I think. Also, WOBM FM, I am on Without Marianne on Sundays.
That's right, Topic A.
Which is really my big thing. I've been on there for Sundays for, I'm in my 36th year.
Oh, wow.
So I've talked about a lot of interesting things.
Yeah.
And to a lot of interesting people.
And you have a lot of people call up.
And I mean, some of them are interesting. Yes, off-the-wall people.
Off the wall.
Got a call, I guess it was a week ago Sunday, it doesn't matter, last Sunday we go, right at the end of the show, from a guy who said, oh, I didn't expect to get on this soon, I forgot what I'm calling for, and that was the end of the call. People just absolutely, like, you would not believe, they're out there, they're among us, and you never know who's who and what's what, you know.
Yeah.
If I refer to me as an icon, if I'm an icon, it's just due to longevity.
Okay.
You know, that's a pretty strong word. Of course, I've been with WOBM I'm in my 46th year.
Yeah.
Right.
And when last time on The Chat we had your wife Marianne Levy on with us, she told us that you were kind of like the matriarch or patriarch.
Glad you corrected
yes,
that.
yes, thank goodness, of WOBM. That's what she informed us.
I don't know how to.
Just take the credit.
Just take the credit. That's it. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, actually, the station is. I've worked for 4 different companies.
Yeah.
Because it's been, formed, started, sold again, and so it almost gets confusing. I like what I'm doing now. I've done everything in that period of time. I was general manager for years. I don't want any more part of management. It's nice to come in, do your thing. It's over. Go home. I'm not thinking about the radio station or worrying about,
That's right. And you're home by 9, like 9:30, 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Well, it's a lot of people are just starting their day.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Now, how did you get into radio? Who inspired you?
It's something I always going back to probably when I was 6 years old, had in mind. I wanted to be a sports announcer. And I would do imaginary baseball games because we didn't have TV back then. And so I would do imaginary games, and I would, to myself, and I would use a drumstick for a bat, the crack of the bat.
Yeah.
And I knew every player. Back then, there were 16 teams compared to
Today.
And kids knew every single player. My gosh, his number, where he was from, everything about him. And, we kind of idolized them. These guys got a license for a station. Guys I knew, there were 5 local people. One of them happened to be my brother. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to him about it one day. And the guy was really the most influential guy, said, how'd you like to, come work for us on the side? I said, I have my own business. I was in a family business, wasn't particularly enthralled with it. I said, doing what? He said, maybe you could sell a little advertising, because I was a pretty good salesman.
Yeah.
And I said, maybe, I got the time. I said, maybe I could do a little sports announcing too. Well, he said, sure, you can be the sports director. I mean, this is a mom and pop operation, And they wanted me really to sell. And so I said, okay. So I knew sports back then, local and other and whatever. And I started out doing a 5 minute sports show every night.
Oh.
But it was killing me. I lived in Lakewood, had to do the show in Bayville. I worked all day with the I was in my own business. I had to run down there, but forget it. So that I couldn't do that for too long. But we started doing a play-by-play of high school sports, which was really, really big then. We started out doing brick.
Okay, the Dragons.
Because, well, we realized that they were it at the time. So we did brick for 3 seasons, 1 losing game in all that time.
Wow.
And then when they split to 2 schools, changes. You know, it's not the same. When once you go to 2 schools, it breaks up the community.
Yeah.
So we decided, I decided, it looked like Toms River High School, which is now South, was the only school. And they were going to be really good. And boy, were they ever. So we did Toms River High School. And I loved it, everything except my voice, but nobody likes their voice.
Yeah, that's true.
And my speech, you know, nobody ever mistook me for an English professor. And so I was unhappy with myself. But people said they could really, they thought I was good. They said they could really visualize the game, which is what you want them to do, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, to make a long story short, I did so well with the advertising that eventually we sold the family business. I got out and I went full time, and here I am.
And here you are, right?
And I went from this job to that job, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Now, Alexa here actually wants to get into radio. And so do you have any advice for her or anyone watching or anyone who wants to get into radio?
What does it mean? What does that mean, into radio? In what capacity?
I do a lot of outlets in like the media, in the film, just like area. I make videos, I shoot, I edit, I kind of just do everything in terms of film. And I know that radio is similar, but also so different at the same time. And I do have some connections to radio, so I wanted to start it and just try it. So I was wondering if there was any advice that I could get.
Are you thinking on air?
Yeah, like I wanted to be like a radio personality for like a music station.
For a music station?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's... I don't want to say anything negative, but you may or may know that music stations, as they are today, are on the way out. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Talk
true.
radio nowadays.
and satellite, which is
Exactly. Yeah.
it's people buy, you know, they buy music in
Yeah.
I
There's
eat
other
in
sources for
restaurants.
music.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
There's
not-
other sources that other than radio that
Yeah,
people
it's not
can
a
find
radio
and listen
that
to
you listen
music.
to.
Yeah.
But there are I guess you start as an intern,
Right.
you know, which is basically interns become gophers
Yeah.
and pick up what they can along the way. But
Right.
we've had some a few interns that were over the years that were absolutely outstanding
Wow.
and wound up in the business.
Right.
You know, and some who have been in the past very, very, very successful, very successful.
Good.
So, you know, left here and went to bigger markets. We had a guy who was originally an intern that became very successful as a morning man in the Boston market and so forth. And you could certainly apply for an intern job with us, you know, if you want to. If you want
Yeah,
to,
definitely.
You know, give me your information. And
Sure.
I'm not in management, but I got a little.
You have a little
you know,
connection.
Yeah.
A little leeway, yeah.
And so let me, before I leave, you make sure I know
Sure, absolutely.
exactly.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you very much.
So now, being on the radio for so many years, do you have a highlight or something that stands out? One of your favorite moments, or a crazy moment, or
Well, my favorite moments. Yeah. I'm a very self-effacing guy,
okay,
and I think if you laugh at other people, which I do,
Yes.
you sure better be able to laugh at yourself.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
right.
I
And,
love that. Yeah.
Sometimes somebody will call me and they're stupid. So if I laugh, I'll point out some of the stupid things that I've done.
Yeah.
Now, the things that stand out, you'd have to edit out if I told you,
Okay.
because there were things that should not have been said on the radio, slip of the tongue.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I went to a radio school. Forget about it. And the only thing I learned in radio school was I regretted that when I was in college, which I only went for a little more than one semester, I should have taken English and I should have taken voice. And I in all modesty, think I would have really been good. But I met one of the kids in radio school. They were kids. I was older at the time already. And he was a dynamite guy he was from Cincinnati. And he was actually living in New York to go to the school. And became friendly with him. Very, very impressed with him. So when we finished school, we had just started the station. I was already working at the station. I said, "How'd you like a job?" I said, "What are you kidding? I mean, they said they placed you, but you know." So I said, "All right." I said, "You're gonna come with me, and you'll move into Tom's River. I don't know if you're." He said, "I'm familiar with Tom's River, and you're gonna be a newsman." And I would take him off the street, mom and pop. So he comes down, and his father was with him. Came down from Cincinnati, helped him move and so forth. And he's going to do his first newscast the day he got there. He didn't know anything about the area, about whatever. I'm worried about how he's going to mispronounce things, because the first thing they all say when they move here from somewhere else is Forked River.
Yeah.
And so right away, people know they're not local. And but he was wonderful. So he comes in, and he's going to do the 7 o'clock in the evening news. It's going to be his first newscast. Okay. So I'm there, and he is Mr. Cool. I said, "Now look, don't be nervous." "Nervous, me?" And he says, "But hey, you got the wrong guy." He says, piece of cake. I said, "Okay." So I go in the studio with him, and he sits down behind a mic, and is getting a countdown. And I said, "I'm going to step outside. I don't want to, I'll listen outside. You just." So I step outside, and the jock on the air, and it says news time, and he introduces him,
Person's name, yeah.
and nothing happens. Just dead silence. So what is going on? So I open the door and I run in, and he's sitting with the script in his hand like this, and he's going, and nothing's coming out. This is Mr. Cool.
Right.
He froze up to the point where it was absolutely unbelievable. I had to get him out of the chair, take the script, and sit down and see reintroduced, and said no. So that had never happened, and he went outside. He was crying, and
Oh my gosh.
his father was mortified, and but he eventually he worked out. But that was hysterical.
Wow.
I mean, just
Stuff like that.
yeah. So I of course I laughed, but and then I told him some of the things after that I had done on the air, and he laughed, and he was okay. So it was. There's been a lot of things regarding my show. I probably learn a lot more than people learn from listening to me. I could tell you that what I think is the absolute funniest call
All right,
that I have ever gotten on the Sunday show. I had a caller who was dynamite. I mean, and she was entertaining people. She was an Italian lady with a North Jersey accent, very strong though, and lovely. And she was crazy. I mean, she just talked about things that she'd ramble on about things that, and again, people loved it. So one day one Sunday she calls, and she says, "Hey Bob, I heard you got married." I said, "Yeah, I did, Rose." And she said, "But you said, how many times you said you'd never get married again? How many times did you say you would never get married again?" I said, "A lot of times, but I guess you should never say never."
Yeah.
And I can't even understand it. I can't explain it to you. Now, let me ask you about your wife. Let me ask you.
She was very curious.
I want to know about your wife. He said, is she Jewish or Italian?" I said, "Why would you ask? Is she Jewish or Italian? Why could she be? Because I believe you must have married her a Jewish or an Italian." I said, "Well, you're almost right." I said, "My wife is part Guinea." I never knew that was a term, an insulting term. It turned out though that not one person of Italian extraction was insulted.
Oh,
Not
wow.
not one called and said they were insulted. And so as the show continued, I got over that. People would call, and some I knew were of Italian extraction, and I'd say, "Did you hear that?" And they laugh, and it was really funny. I said, "Well, did you get insulted at all?" "No,
Oh, goodness.
no." And so you learn something.
One thing about the radio, right? It's live. Everything can happen.
Yeah.
You can't take it back what you say, right?
We don't edit anything, and
Right.
Yeah.
I don't even have I've never even had a button to knock off the call if we have a delay.
Yes.
Right.
And but there's been times when people have said things that should not be said, and I don't have a whole crew there, so the person with the delay is not in the studio, and has failed.
Times.
Yeah, they were busy on another phone or whatever, and so there are times that things have gotten through. And
Some people got a caution.
there, some of them just go too far.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, really, and I don't know. I've done a few Fridays when Marianne was out, and sometimes I'm really nervous. I just sense where they're going.
Yeah.
It'll go either
They
way.
see the opportunity and they take it. Definitely.
I have a line. I have an imaginary line, and it's my line, and I don't know where it is, but I know where not to cross it,
Yes.
even though
Right.
I don't know exactly where it is. There's
A line.
there needs to be a line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There should be.
Yeah.
I don't.
All right. Well, we're going to pause, and when we come back, we have hot topics. Stay right here, everybody. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the chat. So we are here with Bob Levy, and of course the gang.
Yeah.
We're all here,
Hey.
and let's get started because there's just too much going on in the news. Starting with the Baltimore riots that have all sparked from the Freddie Gray incident when he was arrested and then got into the police car, and they said they handled him roughly. And so now there's riots all going out through Baltimore, and the state's under a state of emergency. They have closed schools. The only people who are allowed out of their homes are the people that are going to work, and there's even a time limit, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Right.
So I would just ask, what do you all think? But I want to start with you.
Well, I watched a lot of it.
Yeah.
And of course, it started out. They were calling it a protest.
Yes.
And it certainly turned into a full-scale
Yes,
riot, like a war
absolutely.
zone. You saw it.
Yes.
The
Horrible.
the police were obviously terrified
Yeah.
Yeah.
because the demonstrators showed no fear, and they tell you they showed no fear of the police
No.
whatsoever.
No.
And they were outnumbered. And I'm not going to say that the mayor should have anticipated it. Who knows?
Right.
But boy, they weren't ready for what happened. I don't know if you ever get
No.
ready for it. Now, my feeling is that that very, very few of them that were out there were gave a damn about Freddie.
Right.
Yes,
Freddie
it was just
Pure, absolute vandalism.
Yep.
Some of the younger ones, they're just out having a good time. We had riots in Lakewood way back when, that full blown in Lakewood, and I had to be in the middle of it. I went into town and I just had to see it,
yeah.
and I couldn't believe what I was watching. I saw some of my little leaguers, the nicest little kids that there ever were, running and throwing rocks and through windows, and it's terrible. And what can they do? I don't know what that. How enforcing a curfew. I remember instances where there were curfews imposed in different places, and they announced that looters
Yeah.
would be shot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyone
That's
looting
correct.
would be shot, and that won't work.
No.
So I don't see any solution. It's a total deterioration.
It happens
of,
all the time, though. It seems. I mean,
Yeah.
it's this
Yeah,
in every
it's-
case. What do you all think about this?
Well, about how you saw your baseball players out there. Did you see the pictures of the mom who saw her
Yes.
son, her young son, up there, and went right out there and started smacking him and grabbed him and brought him back inside?
Yeah.
That was
Probably the only highlight of this
Yeah,
whole
Mary Ann
Yeah.
talked at length about that this morning.
Yeah.
Thought it was the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
It was.
It certainly was, and it's. But how many of them
Yeah.
have mothers like that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I suppose in most cases, I got to guess the parents are worse than the kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They learn from something.
Yeah, so and unfortunately, I think that we only can learn bad stuff from our parents.
Right.
The good stuff we don't goes in one ear and out the other.
That's right.
We you don't learn from other people's mistakes. You have to learn the hard way, and I don't see any solution.
You know?
A lot of the uproar has not only been caused from this specific incident, but also Ferguson was set really, really high standards for this group of people who take such a stand on these kind of incidents, that Ferguson was so big that they one-upped it.
They did.
Yeah.
I think
They
this is
really-
worse.
It,
I think this
it
is
absolutely is. So they one-upped it and took this whole Black Lives Matter campaign to
Yeah.
a whole another level.
Yeah.
And they really protested a lot stronger than they ever have before, and that's where you were saying it kind of lost all purpose for Freddie Gray, and instead was just for this group of people who just find and spend their time doing radical protests like
Because
this.
they said they
Yeah.
wanted the family said they wanted it to be peaceful, and these people just went crazy. I
Yeah.
mean, they didn't, burning
And
down a
then-
CVS, a nursing home
Right.
that was in construction was being burned down.
And then we were talking about earlier today. That's where the line stands between peaceful protest and destructive protesting.
Yes.
Now, what do you have to say about?
What do you think?
I
Alexa?
think that a lot of this was amped up, again, one-upping the whole Ferguson thing, because a majority of the people just had the option to destroy things and to vandalize, and I'm gonna be on TV, I'm gonna be on Twitter for this, my family's gonna see me on TV, this kind of thing. I just think that, I think that it was something that would end up dangerous and destructive, but not as much as it is because everyone had huge expectations for how bad it would
Right. I think instead of making it, even making it like a destructive protest as it was, they kind of did it to prove a point even further, which
guess.
really didn't prove.
It doesn't prove
point.
anything.
No.
I think that they think that there's some unheard voice that they're trying to express.
exactly,
It's like
exactly.
an undertone voice, but
I mean, this
to
happens.
damage and destruct is not the way to
Yeah.
show the voice.
You know, white people every day, Japanese people, you know, Spanish people, they're getting murdered every day. And, you know, I live in the media. I think the media has a big thing because they're the ones broadcasting all these things when it happens to regular people every day. But
Yeah.
I think that, you know, African American people are making it like a much bigger thing than it really is.
Yeah.
You know, they're the ones who are always blaming, like, oh, we want equal rights. You have equal rights. They separate themselves. You know, they want their own colleges. They want their own networks. They want their own music. You know, if they really had an issue, they wouldn't want all these new things, and they'd be including in with all other races. And I think they're just including themselves from society, and it's not really, you know, what other people are, you know, discluding them. They have equal rights. They have rights under the Constitution.
I definitely see a right in protesting because
Yeah.
there is such thing as a peaceful protest.
Yeah,
And
peacefully.
They do
Yeah.
Behind
right,
a barricade.
exactly, and they do. I mean, they have worked, but in this instance, a lot of people see wrong in the police and all of the law enforcement. I think that in their case, they are 100% correct in trying to control and maintain peace.
Yeah.
And that's where things start to go wrong because people disobey that and disobey the idea of a peaceful protest, and they just take it way out of hand and take it to
Yeah.
as far as they can possibly take it to prove a non-existing point.
Yeah.
Well, it is a point to themselves.
It's a point to
not,
them.
Out loud. Now, do you think that the media blew it up? Like they do this all the time with different stories?
In this case, no, I don't. They showed what was happening.
Yes.
Right.
But
It was big news. I mean, it was unusual. It was.
Yeah.
I don't think
Well, I think in this instance, the media might not have blown it up as much, but ever
past.
since
in the past.
ever since Ferguson had happened, every single African American person that has died has been broadcasted on the news since Ferguson. That's the idea of it being blown up on the media.
Yeah.
Because they.
Yes, it
I mean,
happens all the time.
they-
it's
right.
not talked about every minute of the
Exactly.
day.
Yeah, every
and-
time a police officer dies, it's a huge
Exactly.
huge
Now
connection.
there's a huge connection between law enforcement and the African American community.
Yeah.
And every single time an altercation poses, it's broadcasted and broadcasted on every single breaking news
Yeah.
report on all channels.
Well, I always thought the old way was if you did something bad, you got arrested, and
Yeah,
you know, and
yeah.
so on and so forth on how bad it was. I never knew it was a like, you know, you have to be, you know, watch out, make sure they
Yeah.
wanted this guy to get a proper ambulance, and they wanted him to wait. You know, if you're doing something bad, get in a cop car, and that's that. You know.
Yeah.
I think that the fact that they're bringing violence into this is really bad. You know, I know Alexa can support. You know, feminists have peaceful protests all the time. You
Yeah,
know, they don't
yeah,
bring
absolutely.
violence to themselves.
Yeah, it's
and
called talking.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't understand
They
why the
called this
violence
out.
has
They
to be
should've.
involved, and why
Yeah.
can't they just?
There are,
Talk.
and I mean, never. I won't get on a soapbox.
No.
But not at all.
It's all right.
No, I won't get on a soapbox. But the whole feminists and all other support groups of such, although peaceful protests don't, maybe for feminists, a lot
Yeah.
of people see that they haven't succeeded.
Yeah.
That's why there's like the term riot girls. But I
yeah,
don't,
that's why there is such a
But there's a
desire
way
and
to do
urge
it.
to get
Yeah.
a point
Exactly.
There's a
But
way to do
there-
it, and the way they're
Without
doing it
including
is not.
violence.
and there definitely is a line, and these people have 100% crossed it.
across. Yeah.
Now, in our class today, James and I have a class together. We were saying that, do you think that the cops should take anything against the people doing this? Because, I mean, they are arresting them. I mean, people are going crazy. They're burning things. They are destroying the fire trucks and the police cars and everything. And do you think they should take action upon those people besides arresting them? And everyone in our class was like, they were 50-50 there. But I think they should do something. I mean, they don't want to, use a weapon, but something to control them a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is pepper spray. There are, I've seen footage of protests where people are zip tied and sprayed with tear gas.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
Yeah.
any of
Doesn't
that.
seem
And
to
I
be
think-
working.
I think
Yeah.
once somebody includes a gun, which I think was where you were going with this,
Yeah.
Yes.
is when things are going to start getting really bad. And
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
I think
it is, and I don't
they
think
need
it
to
should
keep
go
it
there.
going.
But I'm saying I
No.
don't know how much further we can go until it's
Well,
getting worse and
Stuff's
worse
getting
and
harder
worse.
to
That's
contain.
yeah,
Yes.
that's my point. I haven't seen in this instance, even in Ferguson, I don't even think it happened where people were actually constrained and put in sprayed with tear gas because that's
Yeah.
like the normal way law enforcement controls protests that get out of hand. It happens in New York, it happens in Philly, it happens in DC all the time. I haven't seen that. And I don't know why it hasn't been utilized. I mean, it has succeeded in past times.
Okay, before we end, I just want to kind of interject and point out the complete other side of the story as to the fact why this was started by the black community, who I don't think would take as much action and charge as they had. Maybe it had got a little out of hand, but they are really trying to make a point because of how important it is, and especially
Right.
the family that started this whole beginning riot, whether it started peaceful or not. You just have to imagine where they're coming from and how so out of their hands, like that it had domino affected into something that is in our news, like, and we're crazy and it's scared, but it started for a really good reason, and it was what our justice system is doing to our everyday people.
Right.
And the reason that this was started was because this family wanted to make a point about their son and what happened to their family, and what it is continuing to be is a really a reflection of how our government and how our people are treating the black community. And I think that if you're going to take anything from this huge news story that's happening that everyone hears about, is not to misconstrue the main point, and it was to kind of just spread awareness of what our cops are doing, and how people are acting on the street every day, and how it's taking safety away from the black community.
Right.
Well, I think this is a crazy scenario, and just like everything else, I think it's just going to keep going on and on. But hopefully, sometime along the line of this whole mess, there will be some solution or some resolution. And the family did not want any of this; they wanted a peaceful protest.
Right.
So hopefully, it could be fulfilled. So we have more hot topics when we come back. So stay tuned, everybody. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the chat. Bruce Jenner has announced he's becoming a woman. Okay. And so he just made the announcement the other night. He had an interview on 2020 with Diane Sawyer, and he
Love
announced
Diane
it.
Sawyer.
And she really did a good interview, and
She's
she really
great.
asked some pretty good questions there. And he announced he's becoming a woman.
Wait.
What do you all think of this?
Can I-
But you
wait,
also want to
I
mention
wanna
something about the
asterisk-
transgender.
Right. I want to erase.
Community.
I want to erase a little bit of that sentence there. He's not just becoming a woman. He has been a woman.
Well, he feels it in his body.
In
He's
his
saying
soul, he has lived with a
Transitioning.
woman's soul. He
That's
is
the word.
transitioning
65
from,
years old. He's
Right. He is transitioning from the male body that he has always,
was
male
born
body
into.
that he was born into. He is now transitioning into the woman that he really is.
Yeah.
That's
I think it's great for
Belinda.
him.
me too.
Belinda is
Yep.
the name he
Yeah.
wants.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Belinda
he, said,
Jenner.
he said the last time he ever wanted to be referred to as Bruce was in that interview with Diane.
Right.
From now on, he wants to be Belinda.
Good.
Wow.
Yeah, I think as long as he's being happy with himself, why don't
Absolutely.
I think this is a huge thing to teach and to spread awareness
Yeah.
about people that are trans and people that are thinking about it, and just a huge community that I think that the TV world has no idea about.
No.
And that you, not only do you spread awareness and tell people about this, you need to protect the people that are already that, because those are the people that are our generations growing up, that
Exactly.
watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians, that are going to feel better about themselves, that someone who is such a huge part of the media is going to be brave and is going to talk about this.
I think
Right.
I think it's good that for that community, he has announced this and it sheds the light on it. But I do think there were some parts of the interview that I think he left out, and I think there were some spots, which is all right, and he doesn't have to give everything out. But I think there's some things that he mentioned. He said, God, I can't even think of it. But he said something like he wasn't sure if it was agender, or she asked him if he was going to be a lesbian, or
Oh yeah, that's. I think
he was
might
a
be
little
he
he was a little
more-
confused about what direction he was going. I don't know. There were some things he left out. He didn't want to talk about the kids. He was just a little all over the place there.
I had heard from other sources besides the interview he had with Diane Sawyer that he, although is a trans woman, that he still is attracted to female.
I think I remembered the question was he and there it goes again. I just lost it. No, it was something like she asked him about the family or something like that, and he didn't give a good response or something like that.
I think she asked him about if he was doing this for the publicity of
That's
the
it.
show.
That's the question. Thank you.
She asked how.
That was the
she
question. Are you
asked-
doing it for the publicity?
And that's
And he said,
terrible
That's
question
just
to
that's
ask.
just
That
as
was
bad as
insulting.
saying,
That-
"Can you
it
cure
was-
this?"
I
Yeah.
understand her asking it. It was pretty decent
Yes.
journalism,
Yeah.
but it was had to be insulting.
Yes.
to him.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I don't think it was like Diane Sawyer personally.
No, it was a
No.
I think
question
she
on
was asking
everyone's
that because
mind.
that's what people
Yeah,
are
no,
thinking.
it was legitimate. It
Yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know how familiar any of you are, if at all, with Katie Couric's interview with
Sarah Palin.
Sarah Palin.
Yeah.
Sarah Palin, where she asked her, "What do you read? What newspapers and publications do you
She
read?"
wanted an answer.
And Sarah Palin really took off on her, like, I don't have time to read. I'm the governor. I'm busy. Yes, but what papers do you get? You know, and which was a great question because nobody knew this woman was Madam,
Yeah.
and
That's
it
right.
would really give you some insight into, you know, did she read liberal newspapers? Or
Right.
Did
That's
she
right.
read conservative newspapers, or did she read both?
Right.
Did she read the Wall Street Journal? Did you know what magazines did she read? A great question.
Yeah.
And Sarah Palin accused her of setting her up
Yes.
Right.
and trying to, you know, and it's sort of the
It was
the-
misconstrued
Now,
as a leading question.
Now,
Yeah.
before we close the show, I just want to say, you know, good for you, Bruce. But we ran on to politics a little bit with Sarah Palin, you mentioned. Now, coming up, we talked with Marianne when she was here. We talked about how Hillary announced she's running, and you do the topic A, and most of it is politics, correct? And so what do you think
I don't
about
know most of it, but a good bit
a
of it.
good majority?
Well, I know this, that the odds were released last night or yesterday by the legal bookmakers that in England here in the offshore
Okay.
that will now offer you bets
Yeah.
on odds on who's going to be the next president, and Hillary is the clear favorite at 5-4, which means if you bet $100 on her, you win 125. What I really kind of think is that she's not going to wind up a candidate.
Right.
That the heat is going to become so tremendous on her because they're going to rip her to shreds. They're
Yeah.
already
That's
doing it.
right.
Yeah.
They're
Can you
doing
imagine when she
SNL.
has to start with debates and this, that, and the other thing? They're going to
I
tear
never
her
thought of it like
apart.
that.
She's made too many mistakes
Yeah.
in the past, and I think she'll maybe even do a last minute bow out. That's what I
Right.
think.
Jump
I don't.
up in flames.
And Chris Christie, they're saying they said he was at WOBM
20 to 1,
last
20,
night.
20 to 1. If you bet 100 on him, you'll win 2,000.
Wow.
Wow.
But they said he was on Meet the Governor last night, or Ask the Governor at
Yeah.
92.7, and they thought he was going to make the big announcement last night.
No.
But so far, nothing from
I
his
think
camp.
it's ridiculous. I would think he had 20 to 1. I would think he has no chance at all.
No,
None
I agree.
whatsoever. None.
No.
I'm hard pressed to find anybody that likes him.
He likes
Okay,
him. He
well,
likes him.
I wasn't that hard pressed. You were sitting right here.
I do not. We talked about last time. I don't want to get into it because we're almost out of time here. But me and Marianne agreed that he was more of a bully. But James liked his work ethic. You like his work ethic, right?
Yeah. I mean,
I just
If we're
said he's
dealing in
very,
a world
very
that
big bully.
protests all the
Big.
time, we might need a Chris
Emphasize
Christie.
big.
Okay.
He's got nothing to say to you,
got a
James.
work ethic. He's working hard at trying to do whatever he wants to do now, whatever
He's
that
trying.
is.
Yeah.
He's
you
trying
know.
to work so hard. So we will see everyone at the voting booth in 2016. We hope you had a great time watching us. Once again, I'm Joe Rack.
I'm Kathleen Junkerman.
I'm James Coffey.
And I'm Alexa Daly.
Thank you so much to Bob Levy for stopping
Thank
by.
you.
I enjoyed this thoroughly. I want you to know that. Really.
Thank you
I
so
think
much.
it's
It means a lot that you
excellent.
came on with
Yeah.
us. Thank you
And,
so much.
Don't run away now.
I won't.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, she'll be here.
I'll be here.
Everyone have a great day. Thank you for joining us. Everybody keep chatting for us. See you next time.
This shit that ice cold. Michelle fight for that white gold. This one for them hood girls, them good girls, straight masterpieces. Styling, wildin', living it up in the city. Got Chuck's on with Saint Laurent. Gotta kiss myself, I'm so pretty. I'm too hot. Caught